What is up, everybody? It is October, I don't know, 20th, and I've got my damn air conditioning on because it's 85 degrees outside, and it's ridiculous. Um, because it's hunting season, and we should all be deer hunting by now. But the best is yet to come. So we are all in this house getting ready for the grind. That is another deer season. Spent the day putting up some tree stands today, getting ready to go. No real updates. The tech update, my little gadget came in that has the two clip-on microphones, so one for me, one for my guest. It Bluetooth into the computer. I fiddled with it yesterday. When it came in, it seems to work. So we're going to give that a try. So I got 3 people on the hook to try to get scheduled for an episode. And it's going to be a little harder coming up because it is going to be not this coming week, but the week after is when I'm going to start hitting the deer hunting hard. So my mornings and evenings are going to be shot. And there's going to be a couple weeks in there where mid-afternoons are even bad. So we'll figure it out. But I got some good stuff on the horizon. I just don't know how soonly is not a word. Soon it will be, we can get it recorded and then out there. So there may be some weeks where we just don't have anything to talk about. And that's doesn't have to be where it is. And I'll try to let you know. Outside of that, football season, can't think that I'm leaving anything on that I wanted to share that I haven't shared. You want to continue to pray for BVL. I think that's a good thing to do. Outside of that, let's get right after it. I don't know what else to say. I'm sure there's more things I'll think of after this. This week's episode, I want to talk about what it means to be the standard. And I want to ask if you think you are the standard in your department. So the first thing that we have to do is define what we think the standard is. Right. And I think that being the standard means that you're setting the benchmark for others to aspire to measure themselves against. Now, I don't really have my thoughts in order on this, so I will probably ramble a whole bunch trying to get my point across, but I think that we should start with that doesn't mean that whoever we think the standard is, that means they're better than the rest of us, or that this is some sort of ego-driven thing, or this is some sort of idol. It just means that whoever this is or these people are seem to do it right. And that is the way that we all want to do things, right? Is they do it right. And that implies a high level of quality in their care. It implies a high level of excellence in their service to people. They're consistently doing the right thing day in after day, even if they want to take a shortcut, or maybe they come to work that day, and because we all do, and I certainly go to work on certain days where I'm just beat up from life a little bit, whether it's a couple long shifts in a row, or maybe some a couple poor night sleeps, maybe some home stuff that's going on, and you know what I want to do? I want to take some days. I just want to take a shortcut. I just want to shortcut that truck check or the chores or whatever. Or maybe my customer service might be lacking a little bit, whatever. But these people that we hold as the benchmark or the standard, they're consistently doing it, and they're doing it right. And it's recognized and it's accepted to be the standard. Nobody is going behind their back and saying, so and so is too good for this service, or so and so is just, kissing ass, or so and so is this. Like, this is their personality. Their personality is to do it right. And it varies in different aspects. So work related tasks, their behavior, their performance, they're leading by example all the time, and their influence others to achieve things and to achieve similar levels of success. Um, and there's different examples of that too. So maybe they're trying to usher in new protocols, or maybe they're trying to usher in new procedures, or maybe they're trying to usher in new fitness standards or fitness tests. Um, and I think it's easy for a lot of services and departments to advertise a standard to get you to come and apply for their service, and then maybe that, but maintaining the standard through your entire career, I think, is the harder part, or maintaining a standard. Uh, I've said this before. Some services have fitness standards that you have to, in order to get this job, you have to do X, Y, Z, but you don't have to do those things, you know, yearly to maintain that standard. That kind of annoys me. Every year, I have to prove to my clinical educator that I can do certain skills. Right, I have to maintain the standard of performing these things annually to and I'm not saying that if I fail those things, I don't necessarily lose my job, but there is some sort of remediation, right? So uh, that could be the same for your fitness standards. You're not gonna lose your job if you fall below the fitness standard, but there would be some sort of remediation to those things, and say you need to X Y Z, and we're going to retest or redo, and it's better for the service if we do that, if we maintain our standard throughout. So it's a tough thing to do. I know that where I work, there's several people that I think maintain that standard, and that are the standard. And I think what they try to do is they bring out the best in everybody, not in a way that makes people feel bad, like I'll never live up to the standard that this person sets, but I want to do better at this job, and this person seems to be one of the people that does it the way that I aspire to do it. So we're going to put them as the benchmark, and then we're going to do whatever we have to do to try to get to that benchmark. Don't confuse the standard with ordinary, like standard issue. Like not everybody in our business, public safety, is we're not all cookie cutter people. We have very similar traits, but I would never consider, the standard with holding the standard or being the standard on a department as standard issue. A standard issue means everybody gets this. The standard issue EMS pants, standard issue boots, standard issue, they're all the same. And there's nothing that separates those people, or those things. I do believe that on every service or every department or every um, in every organization, there are people that set the standard. So they are the people that come in every day, and then this is the level that we have to get up to. There is no dipping below it, right? Um, as much as maybe as you want to some days, there is no dipping below this, and I think it's I've been on so the first service I started on, like, I felt like the standards were real low. I really did. So, and I will even backtrack a little bit to when I became a paramedic and I had to go to Iowa City and I had to do the testing. And the testing was practical testing, and it was very, for most of us, including myself, it was very ominous. There was a there was a sense of, you could easily screw this up with one misspoken word or one omission um, of a practical skill, and so there were certain things you had to do at each station, and if you didn't, they were called critical fail standards. So if you didn't do these, let's say 6 or 8 things, then you automatically failed the the test, the individual station. And then there was a bunch of stuff that you should do, like we're going to test you on that, but if you missed them, they weren't critical fails. So like everybody was real worried about that. So, but there was a standard to meet, right? Like you were expected to go into each thing and do these things. We all studied for them. We all knew what they were. There was no surprises really, and we were going to do those things. Well, afterwards, and it's nerve wracking. I'm not going to lie. Like it's. I'm not going to say that I went through there with utmost confidence, but when we got done, the point of it is that when we got done, and they announced everybody who had passed or whatever, and a lot of people were very celebratory and very happy, and danced a little jig or whatever, and was super um super stoked. However, and somebody had even commented to me on this, was I was very pretty much stoic. I was like, cool. Uh, and the question to me was, aren't you happy that you passed? And I said, well, sure I am, but I expected to pass. I expected to meet the standard that was asked of me. It should be no surprise. Like if you're surprised you passed, I think you went into something hoping that you would pass, or that you were hoping that you performed well enough to move on. Um, I have never subscribed to that. Like, hope is not an action plan. I expected to do well at each station because this is what I had been basically um, invested in over the last 6 months to a year. Um, so the expectation for myself was very high to meet that standard. Now, were the standards high? I felt like they were. Um, are the st- have we lowered the standards over time? I don't know. I guess it's been obviously almost 2 decades since I've been through that program. I hope not. I hope that we don't lower the standards to raise our. There's an old saying: is that sometimes you got to lower your standards to raise your average. I really hope in our profession we're not doing that. Um, if in anything, I hope that year after year after year we're raising the standards. The more information that people have available to themselves, and uh, the more interaction we do with departments and clinicals and ride time, and the advances in EMS. I hope that we're only raising the standard and not lowering them. But I don't, because it's been a long time because I participated in that. Um, and then that segues into, you personally don't lower your standards just because it makes you feel comfortable. So I went to a service right after school, and I felt like these were all good people. I just felt like the standards were low. Like, we were running off the state protocols, which everybody gets state protocols. We weren't real proactive in what was new in EMS. Now, I was working with several middle-aged men, uh, and it was a county job, man. Like, so there's something to be said for just riding that son of a gun into retirement, where if you don't bother me, I won't bother you, and we're not interested in reinventing the wheel. We're just here to do our job and collect our paycheck and go. And I felt that that was a low standard. I felt like, now I was young, half these guys' age probably, and just fresh out of school, so I thought I was real super smart. And um, but I knew that I didn't want to be part of average. I didn't want to be part of ordinary. I wanted better for my community. Um, Unfortunately, back then, and there was one other guy that was on the service that I felt like he held a standard, and that um, the problem is it led to resentment from other people. It didn't lead to inspiration, which is what I think the goal was. Like, this guy did his job to the best level. He didn't take any shortcuts. He didn't. He provided really good service. He expected others to deliver. Uh, he expected people to deliver things, and I can't stop this right now. So, yeah, thank you. Bye bye. My kid's home. Hi, Colin. Yeah, there's 6 water bottles out there on the bench. Help yourself, but just don't make a lot of noise. I'm busy on the workbench out in the garage. Thank you. All right. Where was I? So, but nobody else really went up to the level, right? And that, I think that annoyed him. I think that annoyed the people. It certainly made those people that didn't want to rise to that standard make them feel uncomfortable, right? Like, it made them, and you could see it, and they would bitch about it all the time too. About, so and so does this and so does this. Well, if that's the case, just do it better. Like, why are we lowering ourselves to make yourself feel good, and you really like working around people that lower their standards because it makes you feel good about your low standards, and it doesn't make you feel good about somebody else's high standards. It's like, it's not the way it should work. But there's people like that everywhere. So uh competition makes you raise the standards, right? Like if you're the only person, let's say you're the only paramedic on a service, and you're kind of just doing it. You feel good about yourself, like you're giving the standard of care. We all know what that is. Not really going above and beyond, no reason to. And then all of a sudden, you get another paramedic in your service, and then that paramedic brings something to your service that you haven't brought to your service, and now all of a sudden, you're like, they've raised the standard. Now the standard's higher, and you're like, shit, I got to get better. I got to get better at my job. I got to do the things that this person over here brought something to our service that I couldn't bring from whatever for whatever reason, a lack of exposure or you know um, lack of experience. Maybe this person's more experienced. It doesn't matter, but they brought some sort of standard that has raised your standard, and now we've got to level up. It would be real easy to self-deprecate, stay at your level, be kind of like, woe was me, or this guy is really, or it would be, the opposite. Let's just get right after it and raise the bar. The problem is that a lot of us, so if you're trying to hold people to the standard, there's a diplomatic way to do it. I've certainly not found that way. I don't think. I don't really know what that way is, other than I know that people get butthurt when you try to call them out on not meeting the standard. Very well maybe, you know, they don't know that they're not meeting the standard, I guess, and they need to be, they need to be remediated on what the standard is. But I've seen it a lot where you try to say, "Hey, listen, this isn't really how we do things around here. We're not interested in doing it this way. The standard of doing it is here." And you instantly defensive, instantly making excuses for not doing it, instantly um, playing the victim, instantly, I didn't know, nobody told me. Well, if nobody really has to tell you. If the people that are out there that are living up to the standard, if they're doing it with their behavior, I don't know that they should have to show you or tell you what the standard is. Um, that goes beyond your department. That goes into your home or into your relationships. If you're holding yourself to a very high standard, people are going to see that. If you live to a high standard, people are going to see it, and then it's going to be their job on whether or not they want to get on that train or not. And I try to hold a very high standard at my house. I think there's something innate in children that make them oblivious to the fact that the standard of how things should be kept, my standard of how things they should be kept, clearly don't jive with the standards of others in this house. And I think it's prefrontal cortex related, but I'm not going to get into that science right now. But it's aggravating that I work hard to set the standard, and that standard doesn't get lived up to. So at least by my expectations. Now imagine that in your service department, or your fire department, or your police department, or your clinical department. If you're constantly the one that you think is trying to hold people to a certain standard, then they're just not meeting it. Tough thing to do. There's a difference between maintaining and holding a standard and just, and outworking people and just and trying to think that you're better than other people. But there certainly needs to be on every plane the standard. And if you're not that standard on your department, I would challenge to ask you why. Why are you not that standard on the department? What's stopping you from being a standard? Because people might think that they might talk about you funny because you're trying to hold yourself and your department to another level where historically maybe it's not been held to. I don't know. I know the people on my department that are standard, and I try every day to try to be that because it's a good example. They lead by example. They give. There's excellence in everything they do, And I know that if I work with people that I consider the standard in my that I work harder and I work better. I know that it's real easy to then when you work with somebody who's got maybe lower standards of their job, and then it would be easy to say, "Oh, I can just ride this shift out real comfortably because this guy doesn't really seem to put a lot of stock in the station chores or the truck check or his diet, nutrition, his physical fitness, or whatever." So it's kind of like letting your belt out at Thanksgiving dinner. It just gives you a little more room to be less than, or wearing sweatpants during Christmas dinner. It just gives you a little more room to maybe cheat a little bit, maybe just be less than what you know you should be and know what you should do. Does that make sense? If you're a if you're down with Bible verses, and I'm not, but real good. But one of my favorites is Proverbs 27:17. It says that as iron sharpens iron, so one person sharpens another. Does that make sense? So we need to use those people that set the standard to make ourselves better. We need to sharpen ourselves through those people. Okay. The verse highlights the importance of mutual encouragement and growth through relationships. I need to be at this level. And in order for me to get to that level, I need to find other like-minded people who are at that level to make me better, to be the standard. My goal is to be the standard. That standard means different things for different people. And I don't know, it's going to be on you to figure out what that standard is and what you want that to be for yourself and what you want that to be for your service. But I think it's important for everybody to recognize that. And if you don't have somebody on your department right now that you think is the standard, be that person. Be the standard. Show them how to do it. Show them that every day is we are here for excellence and excellence only. There will be nothing short of that coming. Does that make sense? I hope it does. This episode has been on my mind for a long time. I didn't know how to articulate this whole episode. I think it turned out fairly well. I mean, that's not me tooting my own horn. It was just me trying to get a point across um that it really does transcend not just your work, but your life. You need to be the standard for your kids if you have kids. I am the standard for my children. I am what I want them to be in at the minimum, right? And for every aspect of life. Now, they will surpass me in many of the things in life, and that is my goal. I am supposed to be raising better humans than me through life lessons and through coaching and through example and through um, other things. They will then, when they get their own family, be the standard for that family, for their family. Does that make sense? Um, Constantly showing. Now, that doesn't mean that every day that we live up to it. That doesn't mean that every day I live up to it. But every day I am trying to be the standard, and I am trying to match the standard of others in the best way possible. I am trying to sharpen myself with other people. Cool? All right. That's all I got this week. I'll figure out next week. I don't know what to expect. I hope I didn't piss off my neighbor, but she walked in with my kid and I was in the middle of this podcast, but it is what it is. I think she listens. She'll get it. That's all I got for this week. As always, if you share and rate the podcast, I think it goes a long ways to finding the podcast on Spotify and Apple Podcasts for other people. I think that it probably does something to grow the show, to grow the listeners. It's cool if you do. It's cool if you don't. I understand. I don't participate in a lot of that stuff either. But I've also never listened to a podcast that's basically just trying to get off the ground. So, if you would mind, do that. Send some comments. I'll publish them. People can read them. If you guys want to have a discussion about something, I can do it through email. I can do it through the episode. I can do it through Instagram. Just let me know. Okay? All right. Work hard. Be kind. See you guys. Hey guys, thanks again for listening to another episode of the Shift Change Podcast. I need to ask if you would leave a rating. I think that it helps people who are new to the podcast find it quicker. It doesn't do me any good, but it does help other people that are looking for the Shift Change Podcast on Spotify or Apple. It just comes up quicker the more ratings that you give it. Whether you give it a 2 or a 5, it doesn't make a difference. It just helps other people. If you need to get a hold of me, contact me via my email, the show email, which is talkshiftchange@gmail.com. Or you can message me on Instagram at talk.shiftchange. At talk.shiftchange on Instagram. As always, thanks for listening. I could not have imagined how well this podcast has been received. So, as always, I appreciate it. Work hard, be kind.